What is normal?
Nothing. There's no safe exposure to lead.
It's a mantra repeated by doctors all over the world. No lead, not even a little bit, is acceptable because we know more than ever what it does to the body. When lead is ingested or inhaled, no organ in the body is spared. Lead even attacks the DNA, affecting not just you, but your future children. All of it essentially irreversible.
A paper published Monday by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that half of U.S. adults, that's 170 million people who were adults in 2015, were exposed to harmful levels of lead as children. Now, this is a huge deal because we've known about the harmful contaminants of lead for quite some time now, a very long time. In fact, there were large battles fought in removing lead from everyday products, especially gasoline. Going into the 70s, that was taken away, but in 1996, that's when lead was officially truly taken out of gasoline. And so much of that was fought against by industry giants, just like today, just like, the biggest oil producers on the planet fight against us doing anything about going towards clean energy. It was the same case for lead. They knew about lead poisoning, but that's what they used to make their products. And so we got to keep the money rolling, baby. And so unfortunately, half of U.S. adults have been exposed to harmful levels of lead poisoning because of greed and greed alone. And while we're on the subject, I have to say it. Might that be why this country's so damn stupid? Might that be why, again, studies showed that people who were exposed to harmful levels of lead poisoning as children typically had a 2.6% decrease within their IQ. That's significant. Might that be why millions of people still believe Trump won the election? Might that be why millions of people in this country think that we shouldn't move towards universal health care because we just can't afford it, or that access to education will just turn us into moochers? Joe Manchin, he just said that. Maybe that's why. Maybe Joe Manchin is suffering from huge levels of lead poisoning because he just doesn't think that anything we need to do is practical. Build back better. Oh, no, we just can't do it because the social safety net, the inflation, the debt, perhaps that, lead poisoning has something to do with that. But again, on a serious note, it really is a big deal. Researchers from Florida State University and Duke University found that 90% of children born in the U.S. between 1950 and 1981 had blood lead levels higher than the CDC threshold. And again, one of the interesting things about that is now we're starting to be able to study the long-term impacts of this, because before we understood that lead had negative impacts on IQ and things along those lines and mental development in children. However, now that many of those children are, going into their latter parts of their adulthood, we're getting to study the effects of that and the impacts of that. And I think that what's important is that we use this not just as a case study, but also as ammunition to push for more intelligent policy, to push for better public policy. This is a beautiful example of how, giant corporations being irresponsible, whether it be big oil or chemical companies or, just the entire socioeconomic system that we live under within this country. This is a beautiful example of how, when it goes unchecked, people's long-term health can be impacted. It can impact our our workforce. It can impact, just the ability of our people in the nation to compete on the world stage. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for us to get smarter and to do better.